Guess whose bill is that? Salute to everyone in the building, man. We seem to be going through some technical difficulties at the minute. But sorry to keep you waiting, man. Please press a one. Just to confirm that the sound is good, please, as usual. I want to welcome everyone to the Tuesday night Falcon Blizzard live stream. Coming at you live from London, UK. I apologize for keeping you up. Please press a one if you're in the building. If not, I'm going to assume that the sound is crystal clear. I was attempting to connect my camera, man, but yeah, I need to figure this one out because it's I'm usually pressed for time, but it's no excuse. So salute. I see the one. Salute everyone in the building. Okay, good to see you. I'm gonna come back to you in a sec. Let me just open it properly, man. So just to inform you on the idea of this live stream, if you look back in my catalog of videos, I've made at least 2 videos concerning the appearance of black men. Okay. One was about black men should stop getting their ears pierced and rocking the earrings, right? And another was about not getting tattoos. Okay. So those were more or less a conservative message. And I feel like the continuation of that discussion is to go with the hair, right? Because it's another contentious point. Right. So in this stream, we want to know if it's ideal for black men to keep a so-called neat, short look, like a fade, for example, for the look of professionalism and for greater chances of employability. We want to understand if all of that even affects it now, affects employability. And I'm also going to provide some stats of UK employment by ethnicity and apply a few articles from here as well as the US that may offer a different train of thought. Okay. So that's what this live stream is about. As always, is a call-in show. So throughout my monologue, I'm going to plant the links in the chat and in the description. So feel free to jump on if you want to. If not, it's fine. We can do it old school and I can read some of your comments. But I think this is one of those so-called evergreen topics that is forever looming in Western black men's headpiece, basically. Okay, so let me salute everyone in the building, man, for making it. Apologies for keeping you with the technical differences in the opener. The first one then was Diego Harry in the building. Salute to you, aka Diego Ife in the building. Next up, we see Billy the Goat. Salute to you. Coming in after him, Super Sharian, aka Sharian25. Good to see you in the building. And we also see Kings and Queens in the building. Salute to you, bro. Good to have you in the building. This show is definitely not relevant to you, man, because I can see that skin fade in that thumbnail. But hey, things might have changed. It might have grown. But salute to Kings and Queens in the building. So, just a quick update on things, man. The live streams, I don't know. They might be kind of losing traction. It could be me. Probably I'm not applying myself, probably because I'm not on camera like that as I should be. But if it seems like, the live streams are getting kind of out of fashion or, people are not feeling it as much, then I might just change it up a little bit and do some pre-records because I need to strengthen up that area of my channel too. I've got a few ideas as well that I need to deploy. And for any of you who haven't yet to do so, come check out Self-Refinement City. That is the Discord. If you want to stay up to date or you want to join the community, you want to engage in conversations after YouTube comments, then feel free to hit the link below. After the stream is done, I'm going to paste the links to Self-Refinement City below the video. So check that out. But let me see, how's everyone doing, man? Everyone doing good? Everyone doing good? Okay, so let's jump into it, man. Where can I start? When I say stop getting tattoos and stop getting earrings, specifically black men, it's to do with the fact that good to hear, Kings and Queens, good to hear. Salute to AO. It's to do with the fact that I think that the global international image of westernized black men in particularly is one of a negative one, right? And I think that image is driven by athletes and entertainers. And what I've noticed, especially if you go back and look at those videos, they're quite popular videos for this channel size. Um, for many of those things, I'm a hypocrite. I have tattoos. I've had my ears pierced. You can probably see it in this thumbnail of this display picture right here, right? But then I've realized that, hey, why? What are the influences for me doing these things? Was I just following along, following a trend, you know, a media trend, and why? Right. So I guess out of those two videos and ideas, I guess my point of view is more of a conservative view, and I do it for efficiency, right? Like at some point, I felt stupid having earrings in my ear. It kind of felt pointless, particularly when I was going into the more professional arenas. The odd thing out for me, and this is a personal thing, were these earrings, which had no significance to me. you know, Probably just stainless steel, i.e., not reals or like crystals or diamonds or whatever, you know. So that was like a, kind of my awakening moment, right? So, you know, these talking points are about the stereotype, the stigma, the influences. Why are we so easily led down a certain way with regards to image? But I think for me, most importantly, again, I speak of the efficiency. I think employability is a key reason to um kind of not even favor this style, just to have it in the back of our minds, right? Especially in environments where black men aren't the majority, such as obviously here in the UK. Okay, so with that being said, I want to quickly bring up some UK employment stats, and I won't lay before you too long. It's you know basic stuff that I can assume that we all pretty much know. Okay, let me just bring up the screen. This is the classic stats that I like to use, but again, as always, these are just stats, so results can be shady. Uh, you know, just a bunch of quizzes and questionnaires type stuff. But let me present the screen. That's the one. Let me just change a few things in the back. Let me just make it a bit more visible. Man, I wanted to really be on camera, man, with this one. Okay, I think that's good. So these stats, classic stats from the government website, employment by occupation, last published 27th July 2022. And I'm just using these stats just to kind of back up or to reinforce this notion of looking presentable for employment purposes. Now, I know that's a bit of a contentious point, because some people out here, they like to clown people who are looking to be employed by companies, right? Everyone wants to be a entrepreneur and have your own stuff. I hear that, but I think personally, to get world leading skills and to understand how world class businesses work, you need to, firstly, in my opinion, find employment, right? And in employment, it teaches a lot of things about punctuality, right? And being on task and working with different people, all of that, etc., etc. Okay, so we're going to read these stats by ethnicity and type of occupation. Okay, I'm going to streamline this part, but I know some of you out there, you like your detail, so I've posted these stats in the chat box right now if you want to read along with me. But this first stat is about percentage of workers in each ethnic group employed in different types of occupation. Okay, so the first part is managers, directors, and senior officials. So These are decision makers. These are the business leaders, right? So when we go to the ethnicity breakdown, Asian at the top, 9%. Okay, we got white, 10.7%. Yeah, we got mixed at 11.1%. That's interesting. But somehow, some way, as expected, we got black with the lowest percentile, 4.6%, as decision makers, right? Key decision makers in the UK. Okay, so there's not a lot of representation when it comes to black people in this level. Okay, when it comes to professional occupations, and professional, I guess, can mean anything, right? Could mean any occupation that requires some form of certification, some skill. So we've got Asian at 33%, we got white at 25%, we got mixed 26.9%, then we got black at 24.7%. So it all looks quite marginal, but again, the black group are less represented, right? Okay, we move on. We got associate, professional, and technical occupations. What could this be? Does anyone know in the chat what that could be? I just see this as it's descending in kind of skill level. So I would say this is, associate professional is second to the professional occupation. Okay, but first of all, again, we've got Asian at 12.2% overall in this level of employment. We got white at 15%. We got mixed at 15.4%. Then we got black at 13.9%. So this is um, a level that at least black seem to have an edge over Asian, right? So technical occupations, okay, that might be a theme. But then we go to administrative and secretarial occupations, Asian at 10.3%, white 10.6%, mixed 11.1%, and we've got black at 9.7%. Okay. So administrative and secretarial occupations, I guess this is quite customer facing, right? Like receptionist, you know, speaking to, I guess, decision makers, introducing them to their directors and such. Okay, we've got skilled trade occupations. Okay, so skilled trades, we know all of that: plumbers, electricians. Asians 5.3%, white 9.4%. We've got mixed at 6.3%. Then we've got black 4.3%. Okay, so skilled trades and occupations, still skilled trades occupations like plumbing, electrician. I guess we can see this as a role where whether you have tattoos, earrings, or dreadlocks, right? It won't really matter, right? Or it's not really frowned upon because I guess a lot of these roles are very, firstly, male dominated, right? And it's more or less a case of being able to do the job more than anything, right? But then we move on to caring, leisure, and other service occupations. Okay, so caring, leisure, hospitality, I would say working in a gym, is one such kind of roles. So we've got Asian at 7%, white 7.7%, we've got mixed at 6.4%, then we've got blacks very much represented in this area of employment, 18.5%. Okay. And I believe someone once brought that up that, you know, black people make up higher amounts of carers, as in for elderly people and I guess mentally disabled people, right? Then we go into sales and customer service occupations. So more customer facing, speaking with customers, etc. Asian 7.8%, white 6.7%, mixed 9.5%, black 5.6%. So again, blacks are definitely underrepresented in this area of employment, right? Process plant and machine operatives, possibly another area where the optics doesn't matter, right? So Asian 6.4%, white 5.6%, mixed 3.6%, black 5.5%. So um, you know, black people are fairly represented. The tongue turners tonight, fairly represented in this field of work. And again, this is more, it's not customer facing. It's not, you're not dealing with decision makers. You're usually in a warehouse, you know, doing physically demanding work most of the cases. But correct me if I'm wrong. And finally, we got elementary occupations here. So elementary occupations basically means usually unskilled jobs, um, right? Skills that most people, jobs that most people can do. Okay, so Asians 9.2%, we've got white at 9.3%, got mixed at 9.6%, and we've got black overly represented in this field of work 13.2%. Okay, but the key thing that I wanted to highlight, and just to kind of reinforce one of my points when we speak about looking a certain way, right? Plus employability, is the fact that in what might seem like the most skilled or the key decision making positions in the country, we black people are underrepresented, right? And I would like to believe that most people, if they enter employment, they are trying to rise to the top, or they're trying to, you know, showcase their skill to the point where after some amount of time, we can end up being in managerial, supervisory, leadership positions, right? So I think that this is something that we need to decipher. You know, for example, again, I'm using the first occupation, the managers, directors, and senior officials. Why are black people so underrepresented in this area? You know, could one of those reasons not be pertaining to image, or maybe even pertaining to ambition? Maybe it seems like black people don't even want to be up there, right? So just a rundown of the data, what it shows, just for secondary interest, 25.7% of workers in the UK were in professional jobs in 2021. Okay, 39.8% of workers from the Indian ethnic group were in professional jobs, the highest percentage of all ethnic groups. The lowest percentage of all ethnic groups for professional jobs were Pakistani and Bangladeshi. Um, 13.2% of black workers and 12.4% of workers from the white other ethnic group were in elementary jobs. Okay. So I think the white other usually pertains to, I guess, gypsy. And again, it underlines that 8.5 of black workers were in caring, leisure, and other service jobs, the highest percentage of all ethnic groups. Okay. So again, one reason why I adopt a very conservative view, especially when it pertains to things like earrings, some fashion sense, tattoos, is to keep a mind out for being of an employable stature, right? Now, I want to ask a question to the chat. What do you think is the chief reasoning for black people uh, being lowly represented in the more skilled, the higher occupations? What is the reason for this? Could it be a legacy of racism, um, a lack of ambition, or could it just be that a lot of us are kind of we are the descendants of new um, new immigrants who might not quite fit into the society like other groups, might feel insecure, or it might feel like we are just not worthy of those sort of positions, right? We might not feel comfortable in a boardroom full of decision makers, and we're the only black person in that place, right? So let's see what people are saying. Diego Harry saying imposter bias. Hmm. Okay. Moonshine99 says racial bias. Jessica X says it's not pushed in the black community. It's not pushed to be decision makers and like leaders of business. Hmm. Clown World YouTube in the building. Salute to you. Good to see you in the building, man. Clown World, you most of you guys know Clown World. He's got quite controversial videos, but me and Clown World, man, uh, we've just kind of hit off as soon as we met. So salute to Clown World in the building. He says people are allowed any hair. Yeah, we agree, and I would like that to be the world that we live in, right? Um, and he also says people can criticize any hair. So okay. Um, is it racist to refuse black men jobs based on their hair? Like, press a one if you think it's racist. Press two if you think that is reasonable. Is it racist to refuse black men jobs based on their hairstyle? One if it's racist. Two if it's not racist. Okay. While people are putting in their votes, let me quickly put on a bit. I'm not going to label for you too long, man. I know I say this every night, but I'm more so interested to hear what you guys have to say if you want to jump on. But I want to read just one or two interesting articles, man. Very, very interesting. Let me just get my favorite. Yeah, I need my favorite beat to kinda get me in. I know it's a stereotype. I need a beat to keep flowing, but hey. So I'm seeing loads of ones, loads of ones, loads of ones, loads of ones. Hair type or hairstyle. I mean hairstyle. Sorry if I was misunderstood. Oh, if it was hair type, man, that would be crazy. The marathon man in the building. One, okay, it's racist. Jessica X says it's not racist, it's reasonable. Hmm, I like this, man. It might be a mix, half, half. Cool, cool. Okay, let me read this very interesting article, man. I'm gonna breeze through this. And forgive me, it's an American article, but I think it's relevant. And I'm gonna come back to a British article as well. Okay, let me read this American article just to back up that claim that Jessica X agrees with. Okay. Uh, okay, it's there. So this is why employers in America can refuse to hire people with dreadlocks. An appeals court in America has thrown a case out against a company that refused to hire a black woman because she wouldn't cut her dreadlocks. Chastity Jones applied for a job at Catastrophe Management Solutions. What a name! And was initially hired, but it was under one condition, that she cut her dreadlocks off. Okay, this was a 2016 article, so fairly old. A human resources manager allegedly told her that her hair didn't comply with company policy because dreadlocks, quote unquote, tends to get messy. Okay. It says that it's illegal for employers, talking about an act that they have in America, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, believe the company's actions violated the part of America's Civil Rights Act from 1964. It says that it is illegal for employers to discriminate against someone based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. Okay. But now let's hear this part. However, the 11th US Circuit Court of Appeals in Atlanta disagreed. While dreadlocks are synonymous with black culture, the court argued that the hairstyle is not an exclusive characteristic of black people and is therefore not racial discrimination. right? So I guess in this instance, what they're saying is that, damn, you have a choice whether to get a fade, to get a low cut, to get braids, or to get cornrows, right? And I can assume what would go against this act would be, I would say, a Sikh. If they're being forced out of their turban, right, then that would align with this act. But look, if it's not an exclusive characteristic, apparently, right? So Judge Alberto Jordan wrote, "We recognize that the distinction between immutable and mutable characteristics of race can sometimes be a fine and a and difficult one, but it's a line that courts have drawn. For example, discrimination on the basis of black hair texture, an immutable characteristic, is prohibited by Title VII, while adverse action." Sorry, guys. I don't know what's going on in my test, test, test. Yeah, voice discrimination, man. But I hope you heard the last part. So the judge was saying basically, we recognize that the distinction between immutable and mutable characteristics of race can sometimes be a fine and difficult one, but it's a line that courts have drawn. Okay. So I was saying, I don't know if you heard, I was saying that I guess hair texture will fall within this act, but hairstyle is a choice. You have a choice whether to get a skin fade, a bald cut like my man Kings and Queens, uh, you know, a high top, kind of like what I'm rocking right now. You got a choice, right? It's basically what this article has said. Okay, so forgive me for my technical issues. I want to read one more article because it's kind of to counter that American one. This one's a British one, and it's fairly old, so forgive me on that. But it's talking about UKC's first black hair code to protect employees against discrimination. This was a 2020 article. Okay, a group of young black activists have launched the UK's first hair code designed to prevent discrimination based on hairstyle or texture. The Halo Collective has launched the Halo Code, which asks organizations to commit to celebrating natural hairstyles rather than penalizing students and employees. Okay. Let's see. I need my beat. Let me bring this beat back on and let me loop it. So it continues. Despite hair being a protected racial characteristic under the law, there is a widely held belief that black hairstyles are inappropriate, unattractive, and unprofessional. Co-founder Edquina Omokaro told The Guardian. Sounds Nigerian to me. No one should have to change their natural or protective hairstyle in order to thrive. Together, we will ensure that all black people can learn and work and live free from hair discrimination. The campaign has won the backing of one of the UK's biggest employers, Unilever, which has pledged to protect its workers from race-based hair discrimination. Okay, the manufacturer, which makes Dove soap and Magnum ice cream, is the first employer to adopt the code. This is the Halo code, right? with more schools and workplaces to be announced in the coming week. We believe the individuality of hair should be celebrated, which is why Unilever UK and Ireland is the first company to support and communicate the Halo Code to its people, and believe it is a vital step in the fight to ensure racial justice and racial equity for the next generation. And this was from a Dove marketing manager, right? So, you know, it seems at least back in 2020 there are strides made to counter the narrative that, hey, if we're being discriminated because of hair style choices, that shouldn't be the case, right? Because some of our quote unquote protective hairstyles are needed and necessary. Okay. But yeah, please do like the stream if you're enjoying it. I'm gonna throw the link out in a sec if you want to hop on and air your piece. So I just want to kind of detail my thoughts, man, on this. I'm not gonna be too long-winded. Jessica X says protective styles are an actual thing. I see my man A1 in the building. He says, "Hi, quote unquote protective." I think when I look under my videos, black men should stop wearing earrings, black men should stop getting tattoos. I understand. I get this pushback where it's like I should be able to do what I want, and I agree with that, right? And I understand why black men may want to grow their hair, right? I think a lot of us experience, kind of being, we seem to be promoted, especially us Africans, to get our hair cut, right? To get that, to get that fade, to get that skin. With a Nigerian man, they're pretty much putting you at bald, right? It's like no hairstyle choice. And I think, especially when you're a younger person, it's like, why? you know, I don't want to say this, but it might sound messed up. But it's like, when you look at historical images of unfortunate slaves being transported across the Atlantic, it's like, there is a look that is very kind of baseline that I think some black men, might want to move away from. It's that kind of shape, skin their head, kind of basic appeal, basic appearance. And I understand, a lot of black men want to move away from that. Freedom, choice. A lot of younger people might get inspired by things like anime and video games. I'm thinking like Dragon Ball Z, crazy hairstyles. You might want to try and rock that, but you can't because you're just stuck with, being told to cut your hair, right? And to be honest, I've grown my hair numerous times in my life, particularly while I was in professional settings and stages in my life as well, right? And to be honest, I feel like it didn't really negatively impact me, to be honest with you. And I think these days, particularly 2023 after the pandemic, I think a lot of companies are now being relaxed because we've been in this age where it's like is it called the age of resignation? A lot of younger people just leaving jobs. I think there is a skill deficit right now. I think a lot of office roles are becoming increasingly relaxed. And I think that's now one of the major perks with these kind of roles is that, okay, work from home and you can have a relaxed dress style, right? These are one of the key kind of perks that I've seen post-pandemic. And I think the society, at least in London, is becoming much more tolerant. And of course, the so-called BAME demographic, that is black and minority ethnic, are growing too. So I think that adds to it, right? So yeah, I don't think black men must cut their hair like I believe or feel like they should kind of refrain from getting more ear piercings, more fancy tattoos, especially on the neck, on the hands, on the face, right? But I still always will kind of lean to having a more conservative kind of look, right? And again, this is for being efficient, being efficient, and not having any constraint that might affect employability. Because I think that is a big one, especially in key occupations where it seems like black people are represented. You know, and I think it's very necessary to avoid the stigma that again it's laid before us via sports, entertainment. You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, that's my thing. I understand the choices. Like, yes, black men should uh, rock whatever they want. Sheed, I might just go back to having my braids at the top because I'm getting kind of, yeah, you get kind of bored of the same old styles, you know? And I think, again, in a kind of progressive city, post pandemic, I think that a lot of mentalities are changing, but yet, you know, in these kind of employer roles, there's still going to be a lot of people who are kind of old school, with an old school mentality, right? So you never know if, again, people with certain stigma might be the thing that inhibits you from getting that role. And again, I think someone mentioned in the chat, oh, just start your own business. And yes, absolutely. Start your own business, be a freelancer, you know. But in my opinion, man, you need to go through some employment, in my opinion. You need to learn some world class skills from these world leading organizations, in my opinion. So I think this is an avenue people, black men in particular, have to pass. Right. So it's not as easy as, oh, just make your own business. I think that you need to acquire a lot of these high class, high quality skill sets and knowing how a business works before you start your business. Right. Marathon continues, says the boredom part is real. Yeah. Every like month getting the same old style. You know what I mean? But that's my run over, man. I appreciate everyone in the building. I'm gonna paste the link if anyone wants to come up and kind of expand on this discussion. Man, I'm getting old, man. How do I copy and paste on this shit, man? Okay, so the link's in the chat if you want to join in. Okay, so we're talking about if black men should get their hair cut for quote unquote success, right? To be more so employable in the employer's eye, or maybe you might disagree with that and you think that, hey, that is that is cooning, Falcon. We shouldn't have to do that. We should do whatever we want. I'm free, right? So if you want to come in and talk about your point of view or express your view on this, feel free to hit the link. I've just pasted it in the chat. Let me pin it in the chat, and let me also put it in the description. But salute to everyone in the building, man. I really appreciate everyone. You show support with your viewership, whether you know it or not. But I would like to ask you if you can please just hit the like button. Since you're here, please press the like. Like's looking kind of low. And if you can do so, this is not forced. Feel free to show support via super chat, super thanks. You can share a video. There's so many ways to show support, but I appreciate everyone in the building already showing support. Salute to you. Okay, so we've got a few people in the back. Let me quickly read out the super chat from MJA2873. Man, I really appreciate you for always, showing your sponsorship. to the Falcon Blizak show and the community, man. He says shout out to you in the chat. Shout out to you, bro. I appreciate you. Appreciate seeing the dollars in the building. You know, salute to you. Let me quickly see. I think some of you had some interesting points in the chat. Let me quickly see what you're saying in the building. We got a lot of team boardies in the building, man. A lot of team boardies. We got Kings and Queens. We got AM1. Who else is boarding here, man? Got a lot of team boardies in here. Where's AMS, man? Where's AMS? But salute to everyone in the building. Okay, let me bring some fellas up. So feel free to hit the link if you want to come up. Yes, we got Diego If in the building. He was the first one up, and then we also got Shah25 in the building. Salute to you, bro. Salute. I'm gonna mute you up, Shah, for a sec, and then we'll come back to you. You know, as we're gonna let the first person come in with their opener, how they feel, how they think about this issue. So that Diego If, man, how you doing in the building?
I'm good, bro. How you doing, man?
Yeah, I can't complain, man. I'm all over the place with my technical difficulties, but I appreciate you kind of remaining.
No problem, bro. No problem.
So you said some stuff in the chat, man. So firstly, do you feel or think black men should be going for this conservative look, and as a part of that look, getting their hair cut? You know, kind of on a. I know there are many occupations out here with you know, but on a kind of standard level, should that be in the mindset of a lot of black men, black British men, maybe even black men in the States, you know, black Western men who find themselves as ethnic minorities and want to avoid certain stigma, particularly when looking for employment and attaining certain skills, resources?
Honestly, so I'd say, short answer, yes. I think that the groomed look is the best way, to be honest. And you know, you can debate whether it's right or not, but the reality is, although you have legislation like the Equality Act 2010, which is supposed to at least kind of like limit the likelihood of discrimination. Discrimination happens anyway. The question comes down to, can you enforce the consequences of the discrimination, or can you actually prove it? And if you're the one that's being discriminated against, the burden of proof lies with you to, you know, obviously make that evident. So I would say, and again, as I should say this too, in this day and age where, you know, see, things have become a lot more liberal, you know, woke culture and so on and so forth. It might, saying it speculatively, might actually be like a competitive edge. It might actually enhance the overall image. You understand? So, you know,
as in to rock a non-conservative look, or as in to maintain
to rock a conservative look.
Right.
Yeah, to maintain a clean cut. Yeah, because, you know, how would I put this? The reality is this, right? If you step out, let's just say if you make it broad, even in the environments I've worked at, in corporate environments, the white men don't all come in like, you know, with like funky hairstyles and what have you. Do you understand? They typically tend to come in with a certain, maybe short back and sides, but there's nothing wacky about it. It's pretty clean. So the bottom line is that it's difficult to make the argument that black men, for example, should be able to have all kinds of funky hairstyles if you're at the C-suite level, or even like a, you know, middle management slightly above that, when the white men or the Asian men aren't doing it. Do you understand? I mean, if you're a Rasta, if you're a Rastafarian, and you know, obviously you're neat. I mean, at the end of the day, that's your beliefs, and in much the same way that a Sikh man is not going to tolerate discrimination off the back of just not necessarily. You understand? Obviously, a Sikh is a turban's very distinctive. A Rastafarian shouldn't. If you're a Hebrew Israelite, I mean, obviously that's not my dogma, and you believe that wearing long hair is also consistent with your beliefs, no problem. Do you understand? But I do think the safe thing is to look smart. And the funny thing is, someone mentioned something about business. Why don't you just start a business, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about sort of that is, it's so broad. Like, what areas and what type of industry are you going to start that business in? For example, is it
Mm-hmm.
client facing? Is it image based? Because even in that context, you're still going to have to conform to some extent. So it might be that you can dress as you wish. There may
Mm-hmm.
be other instances where you have to conform, and you're going to ask yourself, fine, if I'm not answerable in the conventional sense of the word to like a line manager, I'm still answerable to an extent to my client base. You understand? And if it
Mm-hmm.
becomes evident that your competitors, let's just say they're black as well, and they're accessing like a mainstream market, and they have more of a clean cut kind of conservative look, and they're getting orders. Obviously, you cannot establish beyond reasonable doubt that it is because of the clean cut look, but let's just say it's a possibility. Is it something that that black man in question is going to say, do you know what, I might conform, or as a matter of principle, I'm going to continue with what I'm doing, and if I fail, so be it, because I'm keeping it real. See my point? So I think it comes down to a matter of conviction, if that makes sense. It is a bit of a
Mm-hmm.
weird one because we're in an age where, you know, there's this drive to, you know, obviously trans, you know, people who are trans, people who may, for example, be very flamboyant and obviously they're gay. So
Mm-hmm.
there's certain accommodations that are going to be made for them. But then if we're being pragmatic, those groups have more political protection in those environments
That's a
than
good point.
than your average black man. That's just the reality. Because at the
Mm.
end of the day, when it comes down to gay discrimination, that's a slippery slope because are all gay men, for example, flamboyant and effeminate? No. Do you understand? So even some people might accentuate certain character traits because it gives them protection. So they know obviously how to play the game. So for the black man, it comes down to conviction. Do you understand? And for what it's worth, you made a good point earlier about employment being like a, you know, getting skills in a certain kind of 9 to 5 job as like a
Mm.
prelude to
Mm.
precursors to actually getting into business yourself, and that is
Mm.
important because even if you don't do it, you're going to have to hire like a professional services company to
Right.
come in and actually show you how to basically establish the structures of a conventional business. So one way or another, you're going to have to pay. You can't get away from that. So yeah. Oh, and before if I forget, business wise, this is not black specific, it's just general. In the
Mm.
UK, 60% of businesses go out of business within the first 3 years. About 20%, somewhere depending on the stats you're looking at, between 20 to 42% go out of business within the first 12 months. You know,
Mm.
and lastly, if we're talking about UK black businesses, like black businesses, that's just a grey area, right? But
Mm.
you made a point, and I just wanted to affirm it. If we're amalgamating us, we are in quote, underachieving because as 4% of the population, when it comes down to, you know, value of services and goods and what have you, we should be producing 80 billion pounds worth of, like, you know, like contribution to the macro economy. Right now it's
Mm.
25 billion. So we're operating at nearly a quarter of what we're
Mm.
supposed to. So I just want to share that. But yeah, man, spoken a fair bit.
Mm. Mm. Okay, man. Great opener from Diego Harry, aka Diego EFA. Salute to you. Next in the building. Is it true that we only got 9 likes in the video? Come on, guys, man. Come on, man? How can you do me like this? I've been busting my ass to get the stream together, and you're only gonna give me 9 likes? Come on, guys. Come on, guys. Get the likes up, man. Please. This is the least that you can do to show support, man. Come on. But next up, we got Shah25 in the building, man. Salute to you, Shah. How you doing, man?
Oh, I'm doing just fine. About the topic of, black British men should get their hair cut. To be honest, I think it should be their choice, as long as if they don't color their hair weird. Yeah, I do see a lot of black men these days having long
Okay.
braids.
One sec. What to you is a weird hair color, and
Like
why?
like if a man, like if a black man just colors his hair like Dennis Rodman does, like one of those,
Ah,
like one of those weird pink hair dyes, or one of those weird, like to me, that's what throws it off, like when it looks just wrong, So yeah, to me, it doesn't really matter per se, but like as long as if you keep yourself, clean, tidy, and that's what matters the most, and you have a good sense of character to the point that no one's gonna be judging you or anything, because I see a lot of white dudes with crazy hairstyles. Some of them even try, you know how you see some homeless white men with dreadlocks sometimes, like
mm-hmm.
when they don't comb their hair too much or anything. So yeah, like that can apply to them too, so it's not really a quest, to like look a certain way in terms of haircut. I've always personally kept my hair short. I never grew it too much. My hair does grow curly if I don't cut it like for months, but I just keep it short and
Mm-hmm.
steady. Because
Why is that?
why?
Yeah.
Because I think it's much better. It's just much more better look, as opposed to growing it out and then keeping it long. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having long hair, but
Mm-hmm.
a man is supposed to have short hair just like a woman is supposed to have long hair. That's the you know the balance between genders. That's what I think. I'm not saying when I see a woman, black woman with short hair, cuts her hair, wearing weaves and stuff, I just shrug it off. I'm like, where's that big afro, or where's that long dreadlocks, or where's that natural thing? I don't like it when they be wearing all these like fake ass weaves and everything. And if they are gonna make their hair like straight, at least do it naturally. Don't put these weaves on. Like try grow like doing it, making it look more natural. If you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Great points, man. You've highlighted something. Yeah, we must talk about weave, I guess, in this stream because it's relevant. So salute to you, Sharp, with your opener. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna put you on mute for a sec, but then I'm gonna unmute you in a sec. Yeah, salute to Sharp 25 in the building. And last but not least, we had Jessica who came through in the first round. Salute to you, Jessica. X, how you doing this evening?
What's up, Falcon? I'm doing good.
Hey, good to hear you. Long time, man.
Yeah, it's been a while since I got on the panel.
Yeah, but
I
let
can
me
see.
not. Sorry, what was that?
No, I was just going to get into the topic.
Yeah, let me not throw you in the deep end, but let me ask you this question first, or let me not just let you come in and do you think black men should get their hair cut, like for
Yes.
that conservative look, as opposed to these kind of braids and these like China bumps? My man, what's his name? Black Man the Traveler, like that kind of travel guy. He's got those China bumps in his hair. If so, why?
Do you know what? I remember that. And I was like, because he was discriminated against. I think it was in India.
India.
And I made the point about, well, clean up his image a bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you were like, no, I think he should be able to, wear that.
Yeah, to
But
some degree.
I personally think that you should care about your image. It's not becoming to see a grown man, 20 something, 30 something years old, with the ASAP Rocky braids or the Travis Scott braids or the little baby China bumps, whatever you want to call them. Whether we like it or not, our image says a lot about us. It does. And if you want to be taken seriously, you need to take your image seriously. And a lot of black men in particular have a problem with that. I remember when Kevin Samuels came out and said, take care of your image. And
Mm-hmm.
there was an uproar amongst a certain group of black men where it's like, I don't need to cut my hair. I don't have to wear a suit. I don't need to look smart. And it's like, yes, you do. If
I
you want
remember
to be
that.
taken seriously, you conform just like everybody else does. We all have to do it, all of us. You're no different. So cut your
Mm.
hair, get a nice clean look going on, and let's go out there and get it.
Eesh. Okay, some slight pushback, and I have to do this just because. Okay, some people might say, I mean, you're mixed race, right? So some people might say, well, I mean, I guess it depends. Do you have a different hair texture than someone like me, for example?
Yeah, and I was speaking with AM1 in the chat, and I can't lie,
Mm,
at a certain point, when it came to the whole protective styling thing, I was ignorant. So I was like, protective styles for what? Like, you don't need protective styles. And then I actually researched it and I looked into it. And protective styles are actually a thing. It's scientific based on the makeup and the structure of Black people's hair. It's more fragile, it's more dry, it's more prone to breakage. And that's what the protective styles protect it
What is it
from.
protective of the sun? Is it from the sun
The
or
sun
from just the
one
environment?
is gonna dry out your hair, and Black people's hair is already dry. But not
Mm,
necessarily that, it's the everyday manipulation that we do to our hair, right?
hmm
And I always say the perfect thing is, think of a Black person's hair like a piece of spaghetti, right? Like spaghetti pasta. When you try
hmm
and play with if you try and bend a piece of dry spaghetti pasta, what happens to it?
It breaks.
It snaps, right?
Hmm
That's like Black people's hair. Now, if you boil that
Not
spaghetti and
my
it's got
hair,
a lot of
fam.
moisture in it,
uh-huh,
and it's
uh-huh.
got a lot of moisture in it, you can flex it and you can play with it, and it's very malleable, right? Which is why Black people need to put a lot of moisturizers and creams and
Mm,
basically putting moisture into the hair. Otherwise, it's very brittle and it's more prone to break. You see how white people need to wash their hair every couple of days, Black people
mhm.
not as often, because the oils that come from the
Oils.
scalp, Black people's hair has a zigzag pattern to it. The oils get trapped in those zigzags, and then the shaft is very dry. On white people or other races, the shaft is moisturized, right? It has the natural scalp oils, which is why they need to wash it, otherwise it gets greasy. So there is a science that goes into it. Black people's hair is way more prone to breakage, which is why they plait it and have low manipulation to stop it breaking. That's why you see
Mhm,
Black people with hair that's shorter than a lot of other people. It's not that Black
mhm,
people's hair doesn't grow as fast, it's just that it breaks a lot of the time just as fast as it grows.
mhm.
So
Okay.
I like I said, I was ignorant a bit because I don't necessarily need to do all of that to my hair, but other people
Mhm,
do. So once you start looking into it, you'll see it. So I understand that I might not face exactly the same struggles, and I've made a conscious effort to learn about that.
mhm. Okay, man. Great opener from Jessica X, man. We're gonna segue into a relevant point, and that's about Weeze. So salute to you. But before we go on, let me shout out again MJA 2873 with another super chat showing support. I really appreciate that, bro. With the $10 super chat, he says the only time a hairstyle would become an issue on a job is if the rules are targeted at a particular ethnic group to cut their hair, but not for anyone else. Then it's discrimination. Mm. Okay. Good point. Good point. Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate. But while it's in our minds, man. I want to ask the panel this, and everyone can jump in when they need to. Um, in that case, then because this is mainly a show with Black men, right? And a lot of Black men have grievances with Black women wearing hair weaves. But then it seems like some people agree that perhaps the weaves are done for a reason, or in some cases, I hear from a lot of Black women that I know that they would say that, hey, I wear weaves because this is what is expected of me in a professional job, right? So a lot of them will cite that they wear these weaves or extensions because of the job. So I want to.
Damn, Falcon went out. But I'll kind of answer your question, Falcon. Let's not get it twisted. As much as I talk about the science of protective hairstyling, we know a lot of women just love their weaves, right? They love the weave, they love the look of it, they love the straight hair, they love the styles that they can do with it. There's a lot of that going on too. So I don't want people to use the protective style excuse as just cap for really and truly preferring more straight hair.
Mhm. Sorry, guys, I don't know what's happening, man. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we hear you.
Appreciate that. Thanks for carrying on, Jessica X. But yeah, I want to ask everyone else. I mean, aren't black women right then to say that they need hair weaves? Are they not like, is that not a decision that is kind of thrown on them? They're pressured to be in that situation, maybe from the job, from the boss, and it's just an easier thing, right?
I get it to a certain extent because there is that pressure there to have your hair a certain way. Um, Afro hair or curly hair is seen as messy, unkempt, even if you do style it and you do take time into it. So there is that part there. But again, at the same time, mm, mm, no, it's not a full excuse, you know? So
Hmm.
I don't judge the weave completely. Where they lose me is if you have a weave all the time, like I literally never see your hair, then what are you protecting it from? I understand wanting to maintain your own natural hair, but if we never get to see it, if it's never out, then why are you protecting it? Do you get
Hmm.
what I'm saying? That part I
Yeah,
get
great,
lost on.
yeah, great points, man. Shah 25, you said you hated seeing black women with weaves. Do you not think that, hey, they have a point in wearing the weaves?
Maybe it could be a low self-esteem issue, but I don't see why they should, you know. Like I see most of the weave shops are usually Asians that, you know, supply it, or, you know, Indians that supply, you know, their own silky hair to black women, which I think is wrong. You know, I think most black women should either grow their hair and, you know, naturally, you know, put oil and make it straight instead of just putting hard-headed hats. You know, that's what I feel about, you know, hair weaves, about black women wearing it. But moving on to a point, you know, for example, I'm more prone to becoming bald, you know, because I'm already starting to see it in the back of my head, and you know, sometimes
Sorry, bro. Hey, I'm probably getting a little patch as well, so I'm not trying to laugh, man.
no, like it's in my genetics. Like one of my uncles have it, and you know my cousins. So like it's something in my, so like I notice it happen. So that's why I keep my hair short. But you know, that set aside, I do think that, you know, in general, like hair, like it doesn't really say much about a person. Yeah, like for example, like, you know, it's like saying a theory that, you know, black people, West Africans, they have wider nose features compared to, like, you know,
Hmm.
East Africans, like Somalis and stuff. You notice that most Somalis, when you look at them, they have, like, you know, light textured curly hair to like straight hair. Like some of them even look, you know, Indian or Sri Lankan, you know, when you look at that. But like, yeah,
Okay.
it's so like that's one thing I have to say about, you know, people now. Like it's like anyone can have a certain hair texture, depending on, like, you know, what they do. Like a lot of people now style their hair, some, like, you know, dye it and stuff. It's more of a preference. Like I think,
Preference. Okay.
yeah.
Great point, bro. Great point. I want to ask the same thing to Diego if he's there. And that is basically, do you think, or you know, when we speak about protective hairstyles, if the science is real, and then we speak about the pressures from work, are black women not uh, rightful to wear weaves?
So, okay, so I mean, Jessica X made a good analogy about the spaghetti analogy, right? And I don't
Mm.
dispute that there is a certain kind of expedience or convenience with you know putting the wigs on, but one thing I have heard of, well, there's two things that I've come across. One, many women that have recanted weave and have said very explicitly that they will weave, not fundamentally because of protective concerns, but more to do with self-esteem issues. You know,
Mm.
some of these women were also like divester swirler types, so for them, they did not want to be discounted by potential white suitors
Hey,
by fitting them out with like,
sorry to cut you,
yeah.
bro. That's a great point. You always just
Mm.
jog my brain, man. That's a great point. Okay, if we can say that,
Yeah.
then yeah, of the women, aren't they doing the right thing though? Because I mean, this topic is kind of about conformation, right? Conforming to the predominating demographic in any way we can to not be kind of in this negative area of looking like an alien, basically. So aren't they?
Well,
Is that not like the message of being conservative for men as well, to kind of align with
nah,
certain?
nah. Because what the
Mm,
equivalent for us then would be to get white men's kind of weave for
Mhm.
males. So we should get white men's kind of hair textures, like the quiffs and the straight hairs that you can slick to the side. That's what would now basically. So I've heard type men again. They'll say assimilation. That's one of the. I've heard them say that, and it's weird to me because if we're saying assimilation, right, then what it means is that again, it goes back to that decentralized black stuff. Stop expecting stuff off the back of blackness. It shouldn't matter if we're really doing assimilation and it starts with the hair. Let's spread it across. But of course, that's not what they want. It's that whole thing about I have insecurity issues. Please, I don't really want to elaborate on that. So, honestly speaking, I would say this much as well. A lot of white guys that do date black women actually like that hair. And there's not enough men. There's not enough men to go around white men for these divestors or swirlers. So it's a fool's errand to be captive to wearing a wig in order to not scare them away. And look, there have been stories where there's been white men, doing the do with black women. They didn't know that these women had, rightly or wrongly, didn't know that they had wigs. And then, when things were about to go down, and the girl took off the wig to put it on like the chair or the door handle. Like, huh? What's going on here? You understand?
So, had the life of his own, right? Just came out. Started talking to that week. Started talking. That week started talking, bro.
That's one story. Imagine getting down to it and they put their wig on the door handle. That's crazy.
Apparently, one guy basically said that he lost it. He couldn't get up again. Like that happened, and he just went, and there was nothing she could do. I think the girl tried to put the wig back on. Apparently, it wasn't even in the right position. It was kind of frantically trying to.
That's unfortunate, man. Jesus Christ. That's Jesus Christ. Okay. Okay. Great point. Let's bring on kings and queens onto this part of the discussion, man. With regards to weaves, do you think black women are in the right to wear weaves because of maybe protective issues or pressures from the job, in your opinion?
Yo, Falcon, thanks.
And good to have you here. Yeah, sorry for my manners, man. Good to have you in the building, man. Salute to you.
Yeah, no. Thanks for bringing us up. And hello team.
I said, what's that? Hello team.
Oh, hello team. Hello Arsenal. No, it's not about football. But hello everyone.
Sorry. Okay. Hello.
But no. Okay. So number one, I think I honestly think obviously men and women have the right to wear their hair, or should have the right to wear their hair any way they want. That's number one. You were speaking earlier on that there's issues at work, or at least I'm sure there still is. I'm sure there still is in certain quarters whereby your boss is still gonna tacitly or implicitly or in some kind of way infer that they want your hair worn in a certain way. I'm sure that still happens. So there is that. I'm not going to say there's not that, because I'm sure there is that somewhere. All right, and but put that aside for 1 minute. There is this thing about when it comes to hair, especially the whole thing about being brainwashed. I'm talking about black women being brainwashed into not liking what God gave them. And we all went to school in the UK, and we can go on and on about that. And I think personally that that's the biggest issue. And I just want to add balance to that. When you go to the British Museum, you still see Romans and Greeks being buried as if they were ancient Egyptians. In other words, they tried to assimilate into that culture, right? Which is what clearly black women are doing right now. And they've been doing it for a long time. So the whole thing about using a hot comb, which is what my mum used to the whole thing about wearing straight wigs, all of it, regardless of what black women say, is them, first of all, their parents, their mothers, watching their mothers and getting, wanting to look like their mothers and having their hair straightened. The whole thing about trying to assimilate. The whole thing about not liking their own skin, the whole thing about not liking the texture of their natural hair, the whole thing about trying to convince themselves and others around them, i.e., men, that it's a protective style, and they've got to protect their hair. I'll tell you what protecting your hair is like. Do you remember that? It's like having a living room. It's like your parents having a living room and them having plastic all over all the furniture, and you not being able to go in there, and you just looking at it from outside the door, right? That's what that protective style is, and you can never touch it, never go in there. All you could do is look at it for 30 years until you leave your parents' house. You never enjoy it, and that is what having this so-called protective hairstyle is. Your fella wants to put his hands in your hair and rummage around in your hair, and he can't do it. You can't do it because you've got this protective style, and it's just like basically not being allowed in your mother's, in your dad's living room. That's all it is. And so, so it's a negative. It's black women outwardly demonstrating a negative self-concept of self, and that's what it is. And so the whole idea about, and I want to say this as well, having natural hair is not the be-all and end-all in terms of, if you like, being chosen by a bloke. Not to say that a woman is necessarily defined by her being chosen by a man, because there's other ways of being, all the rest of those things, and valuing all the rest of those bits and pieces that women have. I fully understand all of that, right? But I've heard women say that that they get more attention from black men when they've got fake hair. I have never heard any of my friends, right, say, I really love that weave. I've never heard a man say that. I have only ever heard black men and white men say, man, that I love their natural hair. I've only ever heard it. And what I've realized as well, no matter what you say to black women, all right, about we hate weird fake hair, comedians take the mickey out of it on a regular basis. But no matter what you say, black women would still say to you over and over and over and over again that actually you don't like you don't hate my fake hair. Secretly, you love it. And I think that's got more to do with how black women hate their own hair. Right? And so they've convinced themselves that actually we prefer fake straight hair. So no matter what you say, it's irrelevant what you say. And I find that's really sad. I find it sad.
Okay, man. Great points from Kings and Queens, man. I know that is always going to be a hotly contested issue. But salute, great points all around. I just want to shout again, MGA. He's leading the sponsorship tonight. MJA 2873 with a $5 super chat. I really appreciate that, bro. Really appreciate that. He says, as long as they don't bring back the conks/Jerry curl hairstyles, I'm good. Those are nervous looks, nasty, greasy hairstyles. I think we had similar hair in the, what was it, 70s or 80s? Like, I think a lot of white British people were doing that, like that Jerry curl look. Like, a few of those footballers were looking like that. But hey, MJ, I really appreciate the super chat, man. Okay, moving away from the women, let's come back to the men, right? And Shah25 spoke about, he pointed out Dennis Rodman, an athlete who rocked like colorful hairstyles. And I just want to ask the panel, do you think that black men are just too influenced by athletes and entertainers, and they're trying to emulate them too much to a point where it's like, what's going on? Like, why are these entertainers who, they're not in an office, they're not in a studio, they're not in these quote unquote normal kind of areas of work, but yet we want to kind of adopt their hairstyles to that extent? Are we just too influenced by these characters?
I would say that I don't want to speak for all black men, but I will say that there's a certain view. I'm sure I've said this before, but I've written it in my book anyway. The whole decentralized blackness idea. So because we're not in that age of civil rights and black liberation politics and stuff, and BLM is not quite that, in case anyone thinks it is. people don't quite know how to live out blackness. You understand? So what it is that, okay, we know that if you're a black person is a human, right? Social construct black, cool. Adjective, you can describe, there's certain characteristics that you can ascribe to black people. So maybe like, for example, a broad nose, curly hair, yada, 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 yada. The verb, doing black. What is it to do black? So because your identities in the present day, the nexus of black identities is popular culture, cult of celebrity. In some cases, it's literally just like normal. It's just like whatever. Do you understand what I'm saying? So for them, it's unthinkable to not be emulating what they're seeing on the TV and that. You understand? Like, okay, going back to when I was a child, like a toddler, I remember that we're going back early 90s. You know, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Will Smith.
Yeah.
I'm not, I honestly speaking, I can't tell you exactly where the fade came from, but I remember 92, 93. That's when I noticed that there was an increase in the amount of guys wearing fades. It literally just seemed to go boom. You understand? And I noticed that there was a certain kind of hairstyles, like for example, that you know that Tupac movie, the one with Omar Epps, I think Khalil Kane, where Tupac's a bit of like a psychopath, right? The certain kind of hairstyle I started to observe, like around like West London, South London. Do you get my point? So now I think about, a lot of people don't even realize where these hairstyles come from, but directly or indirectly, they're doing black. Do you understand? So for them, it's almost like, okay, if I'm not allowed to do black, then what am I? You see my point? And that's what I think it comes down to. I think it comes down to identity issues. Like everybody's got them in different forms or another. So I'm not saying it's peculiar to black people, but the short answer is, yeah, I think popular culture is very pervasive in the mind, the average black person, that includes average black men. And so, yeah, you know, it takes a lot, like in terms of like single-mindedness to not, you know, shall I say, emulate what you see. In fact, to acknowledge you're emulating it and then choose not to. But anyway, I'll pass it on.
Right. Great points. Anyone else thinks that we're just too influenced or inspired by athletes and you know, entertainers?
Yes, I believe that because a lot of what you see people doing now, especially a lot of black women, I'm gonna say that, you know, a lot of them like to copy what, you know, they see their favorite actress try
But
to do.
okay, I hear that. But on this part, let's focus mainly on the black men. So you brought up Dennis Rodman. So do you think, I guess to the same degree, are we as you know, mentally kind of altered, controlled by these images?
Yeah, we do try to mentally, like, you know, control ourselves by a lot of these like rappers and entertainers that you see on mainstream media. Like, you know, you see Chris Brown, you know, and stuff, and you know, he's not a very stable person. You see Nicki Minaj, you see like Tiger Woods. Yeah, you see a lot of these, like, you know, crazy celebrities on the mainstream media. Most of them, they don't, like, you know, live a normal life. You know, they have what you call, like, you know, people that do things for them instead of that. And you know what bothers me the most is that, like, a lot of these, like, people that you know, black folks look up to are usually celebrities, and that needs to stop. Celebrity worshipping at its finest needs to stop, because, you know, a lot of these celebrities, they don't care about you, you know, they care about themselves and their own, you know, family members and stuff, which but, you know, you know, in terms of hairstyle, like, you know, a lot of black British men need to start cutting their own hairstyle and stop going to these like barbershops, because a lot of these barbershops, they just look they just try to, like, you know, get money. You know, like, I don't really see white guys like overspending too much money on
but hey, let's be fair though. Barbers are, you know, they're providing a service, and to give money to your community, that is part of the kind of relation, right? Why would you say black men should stop going to the barbershop?
well, I'm not saying they should, like, abandon going to the barbershop. They should just stop, like, relying, going on the barber too much, and spending too much of the money. They should, like, learn to, like, probably cut their own hair or ask someone to do it from them at home. That's what I learned, especially during this, like, pandemic situation. Like I'm not saying I'm broke or anything. I don't have any money. It's just that I chose to do my own hair, and sometimes I had someone cut my hair just for the convenience of saving money and going to a barbershop. And like that's one thing I have to say. And I noticed that, like, personally, I like, before, when I did actually have full head of hair, I used to do designs and stuff. But since it's receding, I just, like, keep it short and cut it. I don't try to, like, let it grow out too much. And it is a problem. Like social, like, engineering has changed. And like AM once said, a lot of
Okay, great points, man. Great points. Let me kind of pass it around, but great points about the barbers as well. So salute to Shah. Let me read out JTC's super chat. I appreciate you, man, coming through with the $5, man. Let me see. He says the men are copying the rappers because they know that's what the women want, to be honest. Ooh. Is that true? Salute to JTC. Is that true that it's all about, the cat? Like, this is why men, could that be like a part of the influence and inspiration to look a certain way?
Definitely. Think about it, right? How many times... Sorry. Do you want to speak, Jessica?
No, you're good.
Okay. Now, I was just going to say real quickly, how many times have guys said, like, oh, yeah, I've been sort of like, yeah, look at me, like, I'm kneeing up. Yeah, gonna get me some gal. There's so many guys that have basically said that. And how many guys have been reinforced by, like, that kind of, like, affirmation or validation where women will say, oh yeah, I love it when you get your fade and you look so fresh, and that lineup changes a whole man's demeanor. It's like a facelift. The thing is, I'm not saying that men don't do it for themselves. Of course, it's something like psychological. You probably walk with more of a spring in your step when when you're looking fresh. You understand? But definitely women come into like, I'm sorry, even if it's subconscious, even if it's not the sole motivation, it's let's call it what it is. But some guys take it to another extreme.
You know what? I can't lie. When the guy's got a fresh lineup, when everything's just freshly done, it does make a difference. Like it takes them up a little level from where they usually are. I've seen like some transformations of like guys who haven't cut their hair in months, and then they go and get a haircut. They look like a whole new person.
Kings of Queens, do you want to jump in on that? Like, do you think we're just very influenced by what we see in the media?
Well, there's a few things. See, I think you mentioned rap music. So from what I can see, American rap music's dead, right? So it seems that there's a drive from, I don't know, record companies or the American media to push forward a sort of strange, sort of gay, sort of rap sort of thing over there. I don't think it really. I might be wrong, but I don't think it really appeals. It doesn't. I'm not sure that really appeals to the mass of black youth or the mass of. I don't really get it. I don't get that myself.
Are you talking more about the colorful kind of dreads and the braided look?
All of that, the whole general image. I mean, the hairstyles, from what I can see, UK drill music is massive in America, right? And a lot of young people in America, believe it or not, review UK drill. I didn't realize how big it was out there, but the audience for UK drill in America is huge. And so when you look at a lot of these young guys that do UK drill, they're twisting up their hair. They got short dreads and all of that. A lot of them got short cuts as well. I think I think these young guys here, the way that they do their hair, I think that's massively influential on some young people. I think that's quite influential. Not all young people. It seems to be more influential on young people. You got two types of young people. You got the young crowd who have got come from council estates and really got no dad in. I'm generalising. Really got no dad in the house. They've got no role modelling. Therefore, they're looking for role models. So they follow these drill kids. And then you've got the other lot that have got role modelling at home. They've got their fathers, etc., etc., and they just simply listen to the music. But they've got, because of that strong presence within the house, right? They're not allowed to go for certain things anyway, right? My nephews are cases in point, right? And so here is it is a big thing from what I can see, mainly with UK drill rappers. Looking at the Americans, it's more sort of like a general sort of style, but I'm not sure the young crowd is really checking for American rap music, if I'm really honest with you. I'm not sure Americans are really checking for their own rap music in 2023. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, the style is still prevalent, because you see a lot of, like, if you realize what's in now is, like, I don't know what you call it, but the short cut at the sides, and then the plaits or the dreads or the little mushroom top. Like, they keep the top and the sides are going, and then they'll dip dye it, like either blonde or put some color in there. That's really popular right now. But when it comes to teenagers, I'm not mad at that. I think it's a chance for them to express themselves. They're young. That is the time that you should be doing it, in my opinion. It's when people carry that on into their 20s and their 30s, and then I'm like, no, you've got to give it up. That time's gone. You're a grown man now. Now it's time to embrace being a grown man.
Okay, great point. We're gonna segue. That's a great point. We're gonna segue into. But one second, let me just quickly read out AM1 in the building with the $2 super chat, man. Hey, go and check out AM1, Mr. Skills and Resources himself in the building, man. Salute to you, bro. He says black men care more about an so-called edgy look than real power. So the looks over substance type of kind of demeanor. Salute to you, AM1. I appreciate you in the building. You're going ham today, so salute to you. You raise a great point, Jessica X, and I just want to ask then, what exactly then, to the panel's opinion, is an appropriate black male hairstyle then? Because I think to some guys, especially the younger guys, they're hearing this and they're thinking, then don't I have choice? Don't I have the freedom to kind of style my hair how I want? Regardless of who inspires it. Like, then what is an appropriate hairstyle for like an older, maybe late 20s, coming into his 30s type of guy who wants to perhaps be, in a professional occupation? What is an appropriate hairstyle to the panel's opinion?
I would say you've got a range. I don't even think it has to come down to one thing. It depends on how much hair you have, and I guess if you have a full head of hair or most of it, whether you're looking at like a one level fade, whether it's level one, level one, level two skin, just shape up. A fade, I'd say. Obviously waves for those who can obviously get the wave effect going on, and like the curl brush. So if you have like a fade and then you have like the curl brush, so you might have a bit of a high top. But I think so that's like four so different options. I would say that based on my experience, that within like a corporate environment works.
Okay, a slight pushback to that, and I'm gonna get to everyone in the panel. Slight pushback. For example, myself, when I was like 13, 14, 15, I had what Nigerians will call a cocoa bee. Well, it's not exactly that, but basically the top of my head, if I cut it too low, it's kind of shaped like a bullet. It's kind of pointy at the top. So normally I would never go below a level 2 because of that. So I'm thinking about those guys that might have an awkward head shape for a low cut. What about those guys? They're trying to do what most people would do, and that's to avoid looking like a cone head, looking odd by growing out their hair. Could that not be a valid reason?
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you depending on what kind of situation you got going on, head shape and that, because even like with myself, like the best look for my head shape is like a 3, 4, 5 on top of maybe with like a curl brush. I think that's what they call it. That's probably the best. That suits me the best in terms of that suits me the best. But what I said, that those 4 options, most men would fall within them. Obviously, if you're very advanced with your recession, just shave it low. If it's a bit there, but when you shave it low, you shape it up, you look good, boom. For some people, they got enough hair to kind of keep it, as you said, like a level 2 or above, do that. But I would say that within that range, you're good. You understand? I think with some beards, again, it depends on the environment. I think some beards is the contentious one.
That's another point as well.
Because there's some instances where, even if you have a full-on beard, it's okay. There's other instances where it might not be. Does that make sense? I really think it comes down to the grooming. Yeah, I think it comes down to grooming, to be honest. Of course, the clean shave or minimal, you can't go wrong. It's pretty safe, but
I think that over the top, just no shape up beard is just like it's also another trend that a lot of people are just trying to follow, man. But I also think, then again, a lot of us get razor bumps when we shave our beard, so it might be a means to kind of cover it up. You know what I mean? So it's like, there's always kind of caveats to these quite individual issues, I guess. But what does anyone else think? What is an appropriate hairstyle then for black men who are, I guess, outside of teenage years, I guess?
Let me just say this. Sorry to interrupt, kings and queens. I'd say, just a low fade or some like very short hair texture. If not, dreadlocks, and stuff. Just not anything like too crazy, But yeah.
Okay, what in your opinion? What is too crazy?
Sometimes when a man, has weird hair dyes, pink, or like his afro's like way out of control, like to the point that it touches other people's hair when they come 1 feet away or something, like that's what I mean by that. But other than that, nothing much, Yeah, kings and queens, you can go.
Okay, great point.
Yeah,
that sounds like Afro Samurai to me, man. I've never seen a guy with Afro that 1 foot away. People, I'm just messing with you. I'm just messing with you, Sharian. Salute.
I'm kind of torn on this one, I must admit, because I'm not. There's part of me that says you got to be dressed appropriately for the environment that you're going into, especially if you're talking about professionally. Actually, no. I think you need to be dressed appropriately and be styled appropriately anyway, especially the level that you are going into as well. What I mean by that is, and I believe in looking sharp, basically, for wherever you're going. Now, you see, but part of me says, because when you look at some top professionals, right? Say, I don't know if it's mainly in academia, but when you look at this new young professor who's just gone to Cambridge University, I don't know if he's just gone there, but if he's just been made a professor, he's got very long locks, right?
Yeah.
And as I understand it, he's one of the youngest professors ever, unless I've got that wrong. When you look at people like Paul Gilroy, who I think was lecturing, teaching, I don't know if he's a professor or just a doctor, not just a doctor, but either way he's an academic down there at Goldsmiths. He's written books. So when you look, and he's been around for a long time, Paul Gilroy. So when you look at a lot of black academics going back years, they've all got locks. All of them have got locks. Not all of them, but many of them have got locks. I'm not sure if that translates though into other professions other than teaching and academia. I'm really not sure. So maybe it's about the place, space, and who you are, and whether or not you've got any credentials, whether or not you've written books, whether or not you've got a track record as well. So maybe that's
okay.
I'm not quite sure.
But some substance behind the imagery.
Can I quickly add to what Kings and Queens said? Because obviously I'm familiar with Paul Gilroy, and the Jason guy that you mentioned are actually part of the same academic community as him. Do like a monthly meeting. Yeah. So anyway, point I was making is I agree with you that in academia, I feel like there's more leeway in academia. Academia doesn't have the same standards as the corporate world. See, I've been in both, so I've seen it. The two aren't the same, to be honest with you. You do have a certain kind of preppy librarian look that a lot of academics, sort of subscribe to. By and large, a lot of that comes down from their school, like their family upbringing. So it's just an extension of that. But with with black people, there's. I would argue that because again, look, academia, you've got different departments. So obviously, the likes of Paul Gilroy, Jason, and that, they're more of like your kind of social kind of, like your globalization, politics, race theory, gender studies. They're all within that. So you'll see women with purple hair and stuff like that, green hair, and like down the patriarchy. You let the imagination run wild. So there's more flexibility there. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. And on Jessica X, like what would, in your opinion, what is an appropriate hairstyle for you, in your opinion? Like
The
what you would
one on
find respectable?
the one on the left is fine. The one in the bigger
This
picture, yeah, that's fine. The bigger picture where it's dyed, fried, and laid to the side, no. All of this blonde hair, no, not for me anyway.
What about the Killmonger look? That was pretty popular after Black Panther.
No.
Hey, the hardcore manosphere guys are gonna say F what you say anyway, man. Like,
they're welcome to it. This is like my personal preference, and I say no.
Sure.
If they want to say I'm gonna do it, go ahead.
Okay,
Yeah.
great points, man. Great points. Okay, I want to ask this because I'm seeing in the chat a lot of kind of some scowls and some like disagreements, and I want to ask this to the panel then. Could it be that black men are generally against like a grooming etiquette? Like, you say, like Jessica X mentioned, Kevin Samuels, he mentioned something that I think is quite fair and valid, wear a suit when needed, get your hair cut when applicable, right? And a lot of black men seem to, take that with angst. They got angry at that message. So is it like, is there a resistance to grooming etiquette, and why is that, do you think?
That's a very good question. I think that's a brilliant question. You know what I honestly think? I think a lot of it comes down to who you are and effectively what career or not career you've got. Let's just say someone's taken spent all their money and gone to law school, got passed their bar, or gone and done their ACCA or CIMA, to become an accountant or become a doctor or become a dentist, or even one of the middling professions as well, but to a lesser degree, like I don't know, like some sort of teacher, academic, whatever it is, right? You're not going to let the way you dress screw that up. You've spent £50,000, 60, 70, 80,000. You've spent a lot of money on your education, right? And you've got a game plan, right? And you're not going to dress like an idiot to destroy the fact, you have to work hard, right? So you've got those type of men and women, because it applies to both. You've got those type of men and women, and then you've got the opposite, right? Now, my brother was a bus driver, and his house is paid for. He's been married for all of them been married for many years. They've got lovely kids. The kids have grown up and gone. The mortgages are paid, but but he didn't need to shave to go to work, right? He didn't, and I'm not knocking him. It's just a job he had. He was a bus. He didn't need to. So, and I'm not knocking blue collar workers. I would never do that because I come from that. So why am I going to knock it, right? So, but there's there's certain jobs, professions, whatever. If you're a dustman, God bless them, we all need them, right? But do you need to be suited and booted and shaved up and all the rest of it to go and do that job? Maybe not. Maybe you do now. Maybe there's rules. I don't know. So I think a lot of it has got to do with not letting, you're not gonna. A high professional is not gonna let that nonsense swerve him or get in his way. No, he's gonna do the obvious so that he can move forward. And a lot of guys, right? A lot of black guys, right? That I've heard, right, in the so-called manosphere space. Not all, but a lot basically are not necessarily high professional guys. They're not. They're not. On some channels, definitely they are, and you could tell by how they speak, what they say, and all the rest of it. You just know that you're talking to lawyers, doctors, you're talking to
Mm.
professional men. You know that already.
Mhm.
You're talking to professional men, but other guys, you know you're talking to guys that are probably still got a tag on. You know you are, right? And it's just the way it is, and one of those guys is going out to work or owns their own business and has to.
Okay, how about we do this? Let's name names then. You want to do that?
No, don't name.
Okay,
do
okay,
that,
okay,
right?
okay.
But and I'm not knocking guys that are wearing tags and all the rest of it. Again, I know guys that I grew up guys that wear tags, and some of them I could call on tomorrow, and they'll come and help me tomorrow, right? You know what I mean? They'll come and help me now. I grew up with them, so I'm not going to knock them.
I mean, I say that because you raise a good point. When we think of, I don't know, who comes to mind first is like the lead, the attorney, that low cut, the other lawyers, etc., low cut, and then I think of someone else, and you see a big red beard, you see like the kind of drip and the chains and you know what I mean?
It's the truth. And they're not, look, Falcon, they're not necessarily going to work in the morning. They're not, right? And I'm not necessarily knocking them. I want to make it
right.
clear.
And so therefore, that type of person will be against the idea of some sense of conformity, right? If they don't have to wake up and run the rat race, etc., they will have that opinion,
basically,
right? Yeah, great points, man.
Yeah, I think one thing that you see in the Black community is that I want to be down, I want to be cool. That never leaves people, even up to their 40s and 50s. You will still see them out there in the tracksuit with the snapback, with all of that still going on. That never leaves people. I've heard crazy statements, and again, you start to know, like Kings and Queens said, you can look at the comment sections, what people are saying, and you know where you are, right? If we're just being honest, you know what kind of people you're around, you know whether or not they're professionals, you see all of that. I'll say, I'm not going to call out any names, right? Because I don't want to start no beef on your channel. But when you move more to the gamey side of things, right, you begin to see more of those types of men. That's one thing I'll say that I've seen. So make of those channels what you will, right? But I see it, and I've heard people say crazy things, like when the whole Kevin Samuels thing was going on. There was a content creator, and I know you watch him, and he did a show with somebody else, and the guy said, you need to work for yourself. If you work for somebody else, you're a beta, right? He said,
I
if you
know
work
that.
for someone else, you're a beta. And I'm like, huh? So it's better to run your own company and make 20,000 a year than work for somebody else and make 100K a year. And they were like, yeah, because you own it. You're your own boss. And I'm like, even if you own your own company, your customer is your boss. You still need to quote unquote bow down to somebody. That's just part of living in the real world as an adult. Forget this, I want to be cool, because if it's not like I want to be a rapper, I want to be an athlete, it's I want to be an entrepreneur, I want to own my own business, I want to be a hustler. We need to drop that mindset and say, do you know what? We're living in the real world and we need to do what we have to do. Everybody else does it. Everyone. But for some reason, that mentality is very hard to drop for some people.
Yep.
I was gonna say, when it comes down to using your image, obviously how you carry yourself as a political symbol, it goes, at least from the work I've done, it goes back to the 80s, where, see, for American sort of black males that would have been under sort of Reagan, and in the UK that would have been under Thatcher. So from that era, see a lot of black guys who were trying to just participate in the mainstream in terms of have a respectable living, get a living wage, possibly great prosperity. They got frustrated with being locked out of the job market and having certain cuts or policies that would affect them. So that became part of like your countercultural, should I say, action. If that makes sense. So when I say counterculture, I'm talking about counter mainstream. So it became more of a political statement. And so that's the reason why you've got men who have chosen to cling on to it, because it's a political statement. But it's impractical, isn't it? Because, you know, some people say, you know, as Jessica X said, that, you know, like, you should, it's better to, you know, work for other people, and it's better to make a certain amount of money, and yada, 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 yada. But the reality is that stuff is all kind of like make-believe. This will work for certain people. You know, of course, it goes without saying, it's based on their industries that they're in. But honestly, I think that, again, it goes down to performative blackness. Like, certain people think that they are outside of the framework, and they're letting down the elder generations if they were to stop this. But I would contend, I've spoken to people that were like part of like that 80s era, you know, like, you know, Brixton riots and all that kind of stuff, that 80s era. And a lot of them don't agree with the whole thing of, like, you know, in quote, keeping it real, you know, firmly being in middle age and keeping it real. Obviously, that era for them, well, it came out, you know, what they did in terms of how they styled themselves and what have you, came out from a particular milieu, you understand? And those days are done. So this is what's kind of interesting. You've got people emulating how other people looked who don't agree with them emulating it. But I guess it's that question of ignorance, where you almost don't have that self-awareness to be able to consider, with the elder generations, the ones that are living and the ones that have gone, would they affirm this? And if they wouldn't, what does that mean for you, for the person who wants to style themselves a certain way? Because if we're going to talk about community and all of this knowledge of self, and it's not solely about what we or what the popular culture says. There's supposed to be a significance. What, in quote, legacy are you perpetuating? You understand? Anyway, that's just a thought.
Yeah, great point. I want to ask this question off of what Yahusha is saying in the chat. He says, I will push back hard on this idea that you need to be clean shaven to be professional. This Western standard should be broken. Okay. So I want to ask then, do you on the panel think that this idea that black men need to, you know, keep their hair short and look quote unquote civilized, is it based off of like a racism? You know, is it just racist kind of and a racist element in these industries, or could it? You know, I'm being kind of biased here. Could it not be that this is also a standard that Africans have as well, right? Because I think of things like NSARS, right? And you know, I know it's like younger people who are being kind of profiled by police and stuff like that. I think that's the main gist of it, right? And they're trying to change the narrative. But it seems like, at least in my experience, in my 30 plus years, Nigerians and other West Africans don't like the grown hair look from men, right? So is it really, you know, is it really racism, or is it just like a thing, unfortunately, that we black people have, that we need to kind of quote unquote control our hair and you know, look in a certain way to some degree? I might be all over the place.
I think it's a bit of both, right? We can't deny that there are stereotypes that go along with certain black images. Whether we like it or not, they're there. So when you see the guy that does have that drill rap look, rightly or wrongly, even if you're not involved in that lifestyle, if you have that look, people are going to presume that you are part of that, and you're not going to have as much leeway. So I think there is some stereotypes, if you want to call it racism. It's there. It definitely is. But at the same time, it is a standard that's applied to everybody, because no matter the race, if your hair is long and unkept, you look scruffy. It's not just something that's exclusive to black men, but I do think black men do have that double layer there, where not only can you appear scruffy, but you can also fall victim to stereotypes. So I think it's a mixture of both.
Right, great points. Anyone else want to chime in on that? If this idea is racism?
You see here. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, kings and queens. The thing is, like, it's always good. One thing I notice about, like, Sikh men, like Punjabi men, it's like, they grow their hair out and, like, wear turbans and stuff like that. And, they grow their beard out. But, like, I just wonder, how do they even manage to, like, keep their hair out like that, and grow it out? It looks very, like, feminine. I haven't seen some of them, like, now they're trying to put ponytails and stuff. To me,
No, but I guess the point is, if it's in line with your religious beliefs, then that is another thing, right? That's another point, right? So I mean, yeah, so that's why they might be protected and allowed to do such. Sikhs in the UK, I think it's probably the same in Canada, they can ride a motorbike without a helmet because of their turban. That's how protected they are.
Yeah, it's like they have a strong, like, community base. Like, if a black person tries to, like, cross the street or do anything, and they have, like, nothing on them, no weapons or anything, they all easily get targeted. It's because like, we need to invest in more, like, black barbershop business and more things. A lot of stuff now is getting, like, hijacked and everything. And I just want to like understand, in the future, are you going to make any videos pertaining to artificial intelligence and, like,
bro. Okay, finish what you're saying. Sorry, it's just like you're going off a little bit here.
Yeah, I know. I'm going a bit off. But are you soon thinking of making a live stream about artificial intelligence? Because I always thought it would be a great subject to talk about. With AI and everything now, like, Chat GBT.
Hey! This is what I'll say to you, Sean. Anyone else who wants a live stream, kind of to their kind of design, hit the super chat, bro. Hit the super chat. I'm a generous man. Hit the super chat. Let me know what you want, and I'll make that happen.
I would super chat. It's just that right now, in the situation I'm dealing with, like, packing and, like, moving things out, like,
I understand. Okay, or come through to the self refinement Discord, and we can talk there. Okay.
Maybe. Bye. Have a good one.
Oh, okay. Peace, Shorian. Good to have you. Let me quickly shout out. One second, let me quickly shout out Michael Mitchell the fourth for the 99-cent super sticker, always coming through, man. Good to have you in the building. I appreciate you, Michael Mitchell, with a cherry on top super sticker. Yeah, sorry, Diego. Or was it Kings and Queens that wanted to go after show?
Yeah, just a couple of points. Because I read. I'm glad you got that comment, Falcon, because I was going to comment on that myself. So no one's saying that you have to be cleanly shaven to be professional. That's not. I don't think anyone said that. But I think what was said. What was generally said is that it's simply about perception. So being neatly groomed, not necessarily even cleanly shaven per se, but being neatly groomed, right? At least makes people believe you are professional. It looks more professional, even if you ain't got a clue what you're doing. Whether that's in your own business or at work, it's that's really all it is. And so, and I mean, obviously, we live in what is really a racist country. Put racism aside, it's still about being appropriately groomed for the place and space that you're in. If you run your own business and your business doesn't require, your clientele does not require you, or you're not going to lose business by being unshaven, and by looking rough, then that's fine. I mean, if you work in a record shop, you've got a record shop, you probably sell more records if you look rough. So it's, so that's kind of how I see it.
It's kind of like fit for purpose.
Yeah, simple.
Yeah.
Great point. I think Diego wanted to come through.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, just in relation to what you said about like the standards, the aesthetic standards in like Nigeria and in West Africa. I would say that it's interesting you got a mix, right? Because on the one hand, I think that the colonial vestiges are such that the conservative look is more preferred. It's more than likely what you're going to see in the corporate offices, like in your banking districts, your legal, basically your white collar fields and like your big cities in Africa. You're going to see that look. So it's not like people don't have fades, but it's within that range that I spoke about a bit earlier. But of course, in the increase of young people being able to make money online, like remote businesses, tech, programming, blah, 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 and how influential, say, for example, American popular culture is. You're seeing that a number of them are adopting the same styles of hair that you show. When you're showing Jessica some sort of images of like hairstyles, they started to adopt those. It's for that reason. Again, if you're like an artisan, so like, if you're like a tailor or if you're like a tradesman, whether that's street trader or if you're blue collar worker, same thing. But what's interesting is in places like, say, like northern Nigeria, like in Kano, they have this enforcement police called Hisba. So, like they'll enforce they'll selectively enforce Sharia law, at least what they've codified as being, improper or not. So if you have certain hairstyles that are deemed, beyond the pale, then they'll either make you pay a fine, make you shave your hair. Do you understand? There'll be some kind of like,
I've heard that happening to football
punitive.
players in Saudi Arabia, that on the pitch, on the when they're getting subbed on, if the haircut is deemed un-Islamic, they're shaving those braids off. They're shaving.
Yeah. And even though it's technically, I wouldn't say it's strictly un-Islamic, but just based on their mores and the kind of what they consider to be like, optimal for the society. I think it's more culture than it actually is religion. But anyway,
Great points. Jessica, did you want to jump in on this, or were you just confirming?
I forgot the question now. I'm sorry.
It was if racism affects this idea of black men. I think that was the question, was it? But anyway, sorry, I forgot the question as well. I'm getting old, man. But we're rounding it down. But I want to ask this question to the panel, because I think this is a striking question. I tried to show up some stats to kind of allude to some of this, but are black men even applying for the roles that require that conservative look in the first place? I think one great stat that I'm trying to find is, if it's available, what are black people in the UK applying for to study in university, right? Because I have a hunch that it's going to be media, multimedia, sports science, right? And these fields, right? You don't have to, you can, if you're in the studio making beats, you can dress however you want. If you're some PE type of guy, biomechanical type of guy, you can do what, you have some leeway there. But to the panel, do you even think that, in your kind of anecdotal viewpoint, are black people even applying for these roles or going to these industries that require that sharp kind of conservative look?
No, for the most part, no. Because even where I work, I'd say the least represented demographic is black people. It's black people. I don't work with any black people. I don't work with any black men. They're mainly all white. I don't work with any, and I think it stems from the fact that, like you said, they're not even applying for these positions in the first place for the most part. Not taking these university degrees, and it goes back to the whole image thing, because if you look at what's pushed in the black community, are academics pushed? In fact, if you're actually into academics, you will be bullied or penalized for that in the black community. It's like, you're going to be a nerd. It's like, do you know what it's like when people are like, oh, you like to read, huh? It's like you will literally be penalized for that. And so I think a lot of people instead push themselves in certain directions, whether it is, I'm going to be a rapper, I'm going to be an athlete, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. Those are all the cool things, right? But actually getting an education and entering those fields aren't seen as cool. And I think there needs to be a push or a change so that people are going into those fields and they're comfortable doing so.
Excellent point.
So this is the thing. I would say that no, I don't think most black men are kind of going into those fields where they have to have the conservative look. I mean, you made a good point. about what. Okay, when I first went to uni, like when I was 18, it was, and this was among people that actually did pretty well with their A levels and GCSEs. For you to be going to uni to get onto like a grad scheme, like in engineering, or to be, literally studying law, to actually go into like, do your BBC or your trainee contracts or what have you, it was seen as lame. Obviously, I'm using the American word, but you get my point. People look down on it. I know it sounds weird, right? But people look down on doing that. You get my point. So we're going back a good few years now. But I would say that no, I think a lot of it comes down to imposter bias. People are, if we deracialize it and just look at it, people are scared of uncertainty. Like they fear it, they try to avoid it. And I think that idea of not receiving social validation from your black peers and also being bounced out of workplaces or not accepted leads, said people to kind of, retreat into like a comfort zone. So ultimately it's fear, like I said, of actually being vulnerable, which is what I believe leads to this idea of things being lame. But one thing I will say, I think I said this on the previous stream or previous streams, and I'll say it again in this context. Black men going after STEM subjects tends to be more demonized than, or when I say, this kind of subject, where you obviously have this conservative look, it's more acceptable for the women to go for those positions than it is the men. If a woman is in quote like studious and da 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 da, I mean, she's got a personality obviously to an extent, but she's studious and that people think is great. If a black guy does it, he's not black. So again, this is why I say decentralized blackness is very important.
Who do you think enforces that stigma within the black community?
Honestly, I think it's both. I think that for some reason, I told you about popular culture does not portray conservative black men as being desirable. When I say conservative presenting black men that are intelligent, erudite, knowledgeable. You understand? Yeah, it doesn't portray them as desirable. Social engineering is a thing. So obviously we know that the idea of being with a man that's not about much I think it's one of these things where it's almost like it's confirmation bias. So yeah, there is an element of being, unpredictable, spontaneous at times that can be fun. But I think what it is that a lot of women are chasing, almost like that dopamine chase.
Yeah,
where
rush.
Yeah. So they're looking to find that. So what it is there's guys, especially guys that come from backgrounds where they're not willing to be independent thinkers, and they have to, get literally the way they're going to look at life and how they're going to approach life. They ultimately have to find out what the women are most receptive to and tailor themselves to it. So essentially what it is I think it's popular culture. We know when it comes to social engineering with black people, all roads lead to money. It's not just, it's all about the money, right? Black people obviously won't filter it. The women will now broadly, very expressly state what it is they find attractive, and then the men will follow it. And what it comes down to, it goes back to that thing where a lot of men do not rate other men on site, not because men are moving crazy or doing things which is ruinous to other people and their own image, but it's because the women do not validate it. Therefore, I'm going to shame the other guys. So there are people out there. I've been at loggerheads of other people. I don't try to conform. If I use myself as an example, I don't try to conform. You understand? But whether it's online or offline, people think that I should try to, in quote, tone it down. But if I'm a female and I speak how I speak on certain streams, a lot of guys, I hate to say even guys, some of the guys listening to this now, they'd have no problem with it. It will be more comforting. But there's something that irks them about a man, a black man, speaking like that, presenting like that. So that's the reality. And this is why I say decentralized blackness. So, obviously, like I said, now that I know that people are trifling like that, I don't care. To hell with them, do you understand? But I'm saying that as a black guy, you live life once. You can't be trying to tailor yourself and trying to contort and fit into some kind of box for you to get vain validation. And then you find
Right.
yourself in your advanced years, and then what you got to show for it, keeping it real. Anyway,
Great point.
I've said enough, man.
Great point from Diego Ife. Kings and Queens, you want to
Yeah,
go on this?
yeah, definitely. I mean,
Do you remember the
basically,
question?
no, definitely.
Like,
I think
okay, perfect.
it's an important question. So you see, what young black guys are doing, these are the specific areas where young black men are going into. They're going into engineering, they're going into surveying, they're going into economics, right? Studying, getting degrees in these areas and trying to find jobs in these, areas, whether it's in the UK or abroad. They're going in regarding STEM. They're going into engineering. I already said that in various fields as well. By the way, economics. I said that the building.
Is this what you see? Is this what you see in your day to day, that black men are pursuing engineering degrees, surveyor?
Well, I've got young nephews that are doing these things, and I talk to that age group on a very, very regular basis. Right, they're going into the building trades, and the building trades again may include engineering as well.
Yeah.
They're going into pharmacy, they're going into law, definitely going into IT. I've got a nephew. I mean, my nephews are not kids anymore, but I mean, IT, by the way, is not just running around fixing computers in a company. Sometimes it's about literally developing systems, building systems. And the work can be worldwide as well, right? By the way, and my nephew doesn't like being sent abroad, but he does it not because he wants to. It's just that sometimes he has to. Property development is an area as well where a lot of young guys and by the way, I'm talking about young guys that make it to being professionals, not so much young guys that have to duck and dive and muck around and this, that, and the other. I'm not talking about those. I mean, we could talk about that group as well, but that's a slightly different conversation. And obviously, property development as well. A lot of young black guys, basically, after becoming, I don't know, getting into whatever profession they're into, they then start thinking about basically buying property, not necessarily in London. It might be up north somewhere, right? So a lot of young black guys, right, are basically either buying it on their own, or they're getting together with guys that they knew from childhood, and they're buying little properties, up north. And the big one as well is buying land on the African continent. That's what a lot of younger. I mean, a lot of older guys are doing it, but a lot of young guys are doing it as well. And I said that IT media is obviously very attractive to a certain type of young person, right? For obvious reasons, but not all young black guys are. Obviously, we talk about that a lot, right? But by no means is that. For example, my nephew got a little job doing special effects, so he did some special effects because he's a computer guy. He was literally asked to do special effects on. Was it All the King's Men or one of those? Number one, All the King's Men. It's not his thing. He just got asked to do it. So there's a lot of young. I really wouldn't underestimate what young black guys are doing.
I'm happy to hear that. It's just from my viewpoint, and I guess back in my day, my fellow friends, I'm just kind of citing what they seem to be more interested in.
That's what they call it.
I went more down the design technology route. Others went down into sports science, and it's like a lot of these degrees just absolutely no use, like in later in adulthood. So it's like it's complete roadblock, complete waste of 4 years studying.
I'm sort of sad to hear that, but I think you're right. I think the government, a lot of those degrees now, not the government, but universities have gotten rid of the useless degree. There was a lot of them that came out a few years ago, but the other side is this, right? And I want to really say this, right? A lot of black guys, Falcon, that are doing these things like surveying, engineering, because these jobs are considered by many of us to be boring and corny, right? And we have to get into that conversation, but a lot of these jobs, a lot of these secure jobs that a lot of invisible black guys do, right, are considered to be boring by many of us, right? And we can't underestimate that. These guys are invisible. They're invisible until they get to about 37, right? And those guys are driving decent cars, They own their own property, and they're unassuming because they don't
Right.
flash and they're not stupid. So
Right. Yeah, man. I think like civil engineering, you know, there's just I think there's like Diego pointed out, there's just I think from my point of view, from what I see, there's just a sheer ignorance as to what is out there, and I think we get locked into a very circular way of thinking about what the future is, and that's usually governed by sports and entertainment.
Yeah.
Right. Music, media, physical exertion, or but yeah, um guys, I think we've hit the sweet spot with we're at the 220 mark. I think this was a great discussion, man. I really appreciate everyone coming through. So if we can go with closing thoughts, with thoughts, just to round off your thoughts with what we've discussed today, just to wrap a bow around your points of view, that would be good.
I'll go first. Thank you for having
Sure.
me, Falcon.
Of course.
All right. Bye.
Is that it?
Do you know what?
Okay,
I
salute. I appreciate it.
your final thoughts. I kind of said it all during the show, so it's
Yeah,
just
that's true.
thank
I
you and
appreciate that.
goodbye.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, see you
Bye.
next time. Peace. Okay, who wants to go next with last words, I guess?
Yeah, I'll go. Great stream. Just that last question is, I don't think we can underestimate how important that last question was, because you see what it is. We spoke about rappers. We spoke about all of these, if you like, high profile, very visible type, footballers, da 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 da, and all the rest of it. But there's a lot of young black men and women actually that are doing a lot of a lot of very positive stuff, and they're not necessarily high profile out there. They've studied, they've got their professional qualifications, and they're doing it. A lot of young black guys are doing that, and that group is invisible, they're silent, and I think Jess is right. You might only get, the higher up the career ladder you go in certain places, especially in the city, there's only going to be one or two of us working in those places, because of that's kind of how it's always been. But I wouldn't underestimate them as a significant group.
For sure. Great point.
Yeah, brilliant stream. Thanks for bringing us up.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, man. Always good to have you.
All good. Yeah, man.
Okay. Are you going to stream today?
I'm thinking about it, but I wanted to come on and talk first, because this it was the conversation that you had, the topic. I just thought, man, I've got to get a bit of that.
Because I want to get into the habit of like, if you're going to stream shortly after, then I can kind of put a link in the chat so that people can go over. So if you think you are while we're still on, just feel free to put your link in the chat, and then hopefully people will move over to your stream. Okay.
Yeah, man. I really appreciate that, Falcon. Thank you so much.
No, of course, no problem. So check you later. Peace.
Peace.
And last but not least, we got Diego Ife's final thoughts on this subject, please.
Yeah, man. I think it was a good stream, to be honest. I think whilst definitely you're going to have diversity of thought and opinion, I think it was important for times are changing and change is constant. So yeah, I just think it was timely, to be honest. And I think men have to, black men, black UK men, any black man, Western world or whatever that might be listening to this, it's all about following your own convictions and letting it not be predicated on popular culture, not predicated on a perverse sort of like black community reward system. If we're trying to be the best man, we have to be the best men we can be. We've got to be independent minded. And I think fee, fi, fo, fum, ooh, I'm a man, alpha man. No. I mean, some people seem to think that you have to be overly performative. No, making a decision based on conviction when it comes down to this stuff, I think is as manly as it gets, especially if it's an informed decision. So I don't know. Yeah, I mean that's it, man. But yeah, thanks for having us up, and thanks for putting the topic on.
No, I appreciate you for jumping on. Everyone, go and check out Diego Ife's channel. Feel free to throw your link in the chat anytime.
Yeah,
But
sure.
salute
Will
to
do,
you.
bro, man. Thanks for that.
Yeah,
All right,
and
man.
peace. Yeah, next
Peace,
time.
peace.
Peace.
All right.
Okay, I just want to thank everyone who came through, man. It was a very good discussion, man. It was a very good discussion. I was close to actually probably not streaming tonight, but we made something out of nothing, it seems. Okay, I want to shout out to everyone who came through into the live chat. Everyone who came through with a super chat, man. I saw a lot of dollars today. I really appreciate you guys for, holding this stream together with your sponsorship. Everyone's gonna like the stream. Everyone's gonna comment below the video. Everyone who came up on the panel, you're all, adding to the movement of this stream. So I appreciate everyone. You know what? This stream, I'm actually in the process of growing my hair, and that's funny. I was actually in the process of growing my hair, growing the top, shaving the sides. But this stream has kind of inspired me to get a nice little trim, man. I think I need a nice little trim. Get the sporting ways, get the do rag. I might have to go back to that. But hey, what did you think of the stream? Comment your thoughts below when this video is off the air. Again, appreciate to everyone as always. Tuesday and Thursdays from 9:30 p.m. is when I'll stream. So the next stream will be this Thursday around 9:30 p.m. Check out the Self-Refinement City. Links will be down below in the top video. Everyone in Super Chat will be in the top video. If you want to, kind of extend the conversation and learn more about things that happen behind the scenes and stuff. But for tonight, I just want to bid everyone a farewell and hope you all have a good night. So with that being said, peace.
Listen.